Good morning. All the glue troopers unite. Have your coffee, tea, whiskey, water, whatever you like, and get cracking on the styrene. That's my plan for the day anyway. I'm still trying to figure out how I want to paint that Bonanza, but I'm guessing, gosh, there's so many different styles. It's really common when you paint a civilian model airplane to leave the wings white, which is probably the most common color scheme on GA aircraft is white with some kind of stripes. And that may be what I do. And the model's white, but of course there's the seams and everything, so I still have to prime it and paint the whole thing. And I'm going to try that frog tape that Bruce sent me and see how that works. But very common with a lot of the aircrafts, a lot of beach products, Bonanza, seeing the lower half is white. Then you take it off, tape it off like mid fuselage, and the upper half will be, well, the front will just be a stripe, but then as you get back towards the cabin, it goes full color over the top half. And they did that both ways, white on top and the color on the bottom and the other way around. Now this model only comes with black letters, so I figure I need to, if I'm going to use the end numbers that are on it, then I'm going to have to sort of make it with white or lighter colored base, and then with maybe a little black stripe trim on it, so that'll explain the black numbers, and which is fine. That's I suppose reasonably. Although, believe it or not, actually. Well, no, black numbers are pretty common. My dad's Lusk on the plane I learned to fly in was burnt orange with black stripes and black numbers. Yeah, I could do that. White, burnt orange, or sort of a yellow, or probably I guess a yellow or a red would go best with black pinstriping and the black numbers underneath it. Leave the bottom white and the top colored. Yeah, maybe I'll do something like that, and then some trim on the wingtips and something on the tail. Got that butterfly tail on the Bonanza. I got a 250 grain 45 caliber lead slug in the nose. Unfortunately, that meant I couldn't. Well, I thought it meant I couldn't put the engine in. Well, I couldn't put the engine in, but now that everything's together, I realized I could have sawed off the front two cylinders of the engine and the block, which is where the shaft for the propeller is at, by the way. I could have put that in there, and then because it's got the Bonanza has pretty good sized air inlets up front, so if you turn the propeller sideways, it blocks them, but if you turn it any other way, you can actually see that there's no motor in there, which is most of these little GA models, they give these detailed engines. You can't see any of it unless you're going to make an open cowling, so man, why bother? I'll just put a lead slug up there. This one's actually got big enough inlets that you can tell there's no motor in there. And I thought about, well, I'll just pop the front of the cowling off, but unfortunately I glued it in place too well without using a glue remover. It's not coming off, and I figured it's not that important, because I was going to put the prop horizontal anyway. I seem to remember Bonanza at our airport always being parked with the prop horizontal. I guess I don't know if it's just the way it always ended up when the guy was done flying. No, wait a minute, it just dawned on me. It would be that way because he would have to use the gear with the nose wheel. Though they have like a big T-handle hooks into the nose wheel that when you push the plane backwards, you steer it. So of course you want the prop horizontal so you're not bumping the propeller. I always wondered why that prop was horizontal, but I got so used to seeing it that way. I thought that's just the way a Bonanza's supposed to look when it's parked, if it has a two-bladed prop. So that's not an issue. And the truck's coming together. In keeping with what I was talking about yesterday, with sort of I think I'm going to call the diorama with the trucks and everything, I think I'm going to call it Exodus. And from the book in the Bible, or about where the Hebrews leave, and I guess that's when they left Egypt. Anyway, and also a movie about the establishment of Israel by that name. And but of course it's Exodus is anytime mass leaves. And I kind of came up with this is where at the moment in my mind this is where I'm going with it. Put all the vehicles together. I've got so many extra 148 scale figures I could probably put a lot of people in the back of the truck, and I'll see what I can scratch together. But have people walking as well as the trucks going by. Probably have the military going with them. Like everybody's pulling out together. The military's leading the way. Have the cop directing traffic and everything, and then I'll put it up against a green screen, or not necessarily a green screen, but just a green background. Photograph it, and it would be like a generic Exodus scene. And I'll probably have some detritus like burn marks on the ground, maybe some burned up vehicle parts or something laying around, or maybe an airplane wing or something like that. And it can be whatever you want it to be. Of course, guys, I'm sort of sci-fi oriented, but that's sort of. But if I shoot it against a green background, then people can superimpose whatever event they want behind it, whether it's invading aliens or giant kaiju or tornadoes or a tidal wave or earthquake, or well, I guess you can't really photograph an earthquake, or a like a nuclear devastation, a nuclear war or something. And maybe circulate it to you guys, and everybody can come up with their own. Or normally I'd send you guys the picture, and then you could doctor it up and send it back to me. But what might just be easier for everybody is, because not everybody has chroma key software on the computer, is send me the picture you want in the background, so you can kind of create your own catastrophe. Boy, us sci-fi people, we sure do love blowing up the earth, don't we? So I don't know when I'll have that done. I don't know when I'll have anything done. There's no schedule here. We're just kind of going as we go. But I also was reading something, getting back to making models. I don't know if you guys ever built any Strombecker kits. Strombecker made wooden toys and stuff before they got into wooden models and then got into the plastic kits. But apparently, it makes sense. It's one of the earliest companies to get into it, that they've got the oldest molds, and apparently the Strombecker molds are still, while they've been maintained and had work done on them and upgrades and stuff, they're still being used, but apparently they're extremely cantankerous, and a lot of times I'll be talking about this in the Glencoe video, but a lot of times they actually, the master himself, who owns the company, has to run that to shoot the plastic himself, I guess, because it's just apparently especially this is the case with the older molds, but they develop what you might call personalities, and you get to know each one, and there's certain things you learn you have to do with each one to get them to work. In fact, he was commenting that with the old molds like that, they were all handmade before, CNC machines and computer CAD designs and stuff could cut identical molds. You could you could look at a mold and you knew who made it, because they were all made by various artisans, and who all had their own style. And Nick was saying that over at Glencoe was saying that he can look at a mold and look at the way it's done and stuff. Oh yeah, I know who made this mold. They had that signature way of doing things. And well, apparently one reason some of those old kits, if you go back to the 50s, like the airliner kits and everything, apparently one reason that plastic was so smooth had to do with how well they polished the molds. And apparently back then they just, and it was all hand done. The level of polish had like a mirror shine on them. That's why those little kits had such a smooth, slick finish to them. And that'd be, I almost pulled the trigger on something last night on eBay. I was just stumbling around and I knew, I said, I'm not going to get this because I've got too much other stuff going on, but I'm going to probably kick myself. It was the old, and it was an original hard box of the Revell Jupiter C with the launch gantry. And it was only going for about $35. There's only one bid. I'm like, yeah, I guarantee that guy's got more than a $35 bid on that. And I was thinking I could take a shot at it, but I've got so much other stuff. And I'm thinking, you know what? It would be a little, I mean, admittedly, it's plastic, but it would be a little silly. I don't know if silly is the word, but I've got one launch gantry that I haven't finished for the Apollo, and I'm sitting here looking at buying another one. Yeah, I know it's plastic; it would go together a lot more easily. But I did actually do a little work on the gantry yesterday. I was trying to get one of the more complicated paper pieces that wraps all the way around two other pieces of paper, and it was like, God, thing's a bloody nightmare. And then I found this company, I forget it was Newware, which one it was, that actually makes a 1 to 144 scale base for the Apollo. It's just the base and has all those components in it. I couldn't find a picture of a finished one though, just the kit. It looks like it's like it might be a lot of photo etch metal. And it was about $50, but every place that carried them was out of stock. And I was like, you know, it's probably, that would be an interesting way to do it, but that's a project. If anybody knows or can find a picture, I'd be interested to see it. But I did get a little work done on the gantry yesterday, and I pretty much decided I'm gonna have to scratch build some, or not scratch. I'm gonna have to use the paper and either back it with plastic or cut some wooden parts and filler or something in there, because just folding that paper around in some places, it's just my big thumbs, you know, it just looks atrocious. And on top of that, there's no structural stability to it, and it just doesn't look good. And I like that. So after I played with it a while yesterday, I committed myself to, I've got some 010 and 020 stock styrene, and some of these parts I'm just going to make some backings for them and put some inserts or something in there. Give the paper something to adhere to. And what I want to try and do is just make one part every day when I'm doing other stuff. I figure that way, because there's a lot of repetitive stuff with all the stacks and towers and everything. There's a lot of repetitive stuff. So I figure if I just commit to doing one part every day, then over time it will come together. So and I'll start with that. Well, I tinkered with it yesterday, but I'll actually commit to it today. And that's the plan on that. And that's pretty much it for this morning. Finally getting a halfway decent start time, because Her Majesty up on her perch wanted to be fed, so she came and worked as my alarm clock. And here's one for all the cat lovers out there.